Well, good day and welcome to my tutorial on analyzing the music of The Shadow of Your Smile. A great song that slides back and forth between major and it's related, sometimes referred to as relative minor. In this case, most publishers do the song in 1 sharp, so we're talking between G major and E minor. You may want to get hold of a copy of the music to follow along with this tutorial, as I'll be referring to it. Now, this song thrives on alternative harmonies, such as but that's outside of our realm for today. We've got enough on our plate. I'm going to be just sticking with the basic chord changes for my analysis. Depending on the publisher, there are usually 18-bar intro. I happen to use the intro on my arrangement of The Shadow of Your Smile, mainly because it sets up the song so beautifully. Time does not permit me to analyze the introduction, but the last few bars are strictly in G major as it comes in on the 2 chord, A minor 7, to the 5, D7, in this case D13, deceptive cadence to the 3 chord, all diatonic to the key of G, 6 to 2, 5, and strongly arrives on G major. Then we have the anacrusis that starts the song. In pop terms, we just call those pickup notes. There are 5 of them. Without further ado, I think we better take a look at the sheet music. Well, the pickup takes us into an F sharp minor 7 chord and onto a B7 chord. Well, that to me certainly looks like a 2-5 into E minor. So this would be a 2 chord acting as a subdominant, setting up the dominant, the 5 chord, and then into the E minor, the 1 chord. Those of you who have viewed my tutorial on the harmony structure of the melodic minor know that there are 2 different chord structures for the 2 through to the 7 chord. These are defined as regular and irregular. The regular form of the 2 chord is diminished, and we can see that this chord is not diminished, not with the C sharp, the perfect 5th of F sharp used. So this would be referred to as the irregular form of the 2 chord. Not a question of good or bad, it goes by usage. The regular form is used more often than the irregular form, but again, because of the melody note, we're pretty well stuck with the irregular form of the 2 chord. Onto the 5 chord and into the 1 chord. But here Mr. Mendel introduces the first concept of equal division of the octave. Equal division of an octave is a leap of 3 whole tones, a tritone, the halfway point of an octave. So he leaps up the 3 whole tones to an F chord, which we would refer to as a flat 2 chord. And the flat 2 chord just drops nicely onto the 1 chord. So the 5 goes directly to the 1, so does the flat 2. This is physically closer to the E minor, so that's the order that it's done. And then he goes on to an A9 chord, probably because of the tie B. It's 9 rather than a 7. Has absolutely nothing to do with the key of G and very little to do with the key of E minor. But it is a dominant chord, so it must be a 5 of something, which means this has got to be tonicization. So it is the 5 of D7 in the key of G. So D7 is the 5 chord in G. So we would have to label this the 5 of the 5 chord. Now he doesn't go directly there. He slides in a 2 chord, softening the arrival onto the 5 chord. So we have the 5 of the 5 interrupted with the 2 chord, subdominant into the 5 chord, and normally we go to the 1 chord. But because of continuity, he does exactly the same thing that he did here, the leap of a tritone to the flat 2 chord. He's going to do, at this point, equal division of the octave, leaping a tritone up to a flat, which in G would be a flat 2 chord, and then dropping down onto the G1 chord. Then he moves on along to the 4 chord. Well, let's watch and listen to the music to that point, starting, I don't know, how about at the beginning? Coming in with the introduction. Irregular 2 chord, as I pointed out, because of that perfect fifth rather than the diminished. To the 5. And that flat 2 that I mentioned will just push us onto the 5th of the 1 chord beautifully. But this is where Mr. Mandel introduces our first look at equal division of the octave. Instead of going directly to 1, he leaps a tritone, the halfway point of the octave, and allows it to drop a half tone onto the 1 chord. Both 5 goes to 1 and the flat 2 goes to the 1. So 5, flat 2, onto the 1 chord. Then he moves on to the A9 chord, which has absolutely nothing to do with either G or E minor, but since it's dominant, it has everything to do with a 5 of something, and I know that A is the 5th of D, and I know that D is the 5 chord in G major. So therefore I must be on a 5 of 5. But instead of going directly to the 5, we know that we can split a 5 chord between its subdominant chord, the 2 chord, in this case A minor, then to the 5 chord. And the 5 chord could go directly right to the 1, but again, for continuity's sake, he does the same thing that he did going to E minor. He leaps the tritone, equal division of the octave, to the flat 2, and then lets it fall onto the 1 chord. And then on to what we perceive to be the 4 chord in G major. But let's take a look at the music. Well, we know that we are definitely heading back into the E minor part of the song, again, because of the use of this time, the regular 2 chord to the 5 chord and into the 1 chord, which I'll show you a little more detail on the piano. Now, the regular form of the 2 chord, the publishers still give us the wrong chord symbol. They say an F sharp minor 7 with a flat 5. Well, if you have a minor chord and you flatten the 5, it is diminished. So that chord should not have been used. They should have actually said it is an F sharp half diminished. So a 2 going to the 5 into the 1 chord. Then we come down to what would be considered the irregular 6 chord. And that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that chord, it's quite nice. I personally prefer C sharp 9 plus 11, which of course has nothing to do with the key of G, but it is a dominant chord, so therefore I'm thinking of tonicization. It's a 5 of what? Well, C sharp is the 5 of F sharp, and F sharp in the key of E minor is the 2 chord, because there's my 2 chord there. So this must be the 5 of the 2 chord. But when you rise on what we would think would be the 2 chord, it's another dominant chord, which now turns this guy into a 5 of, well, let's take a look. F sharp is the 5 of B. So this must be the 5 of 5. It's kind of a unique process. This is the 5 of F sharp minor, and this is the 5 of B9. And then he does a really neat thing here. The composer does another equal division of the octave in both directions. He comes from, he drops 3 whole tones, a tritone, down to the C, and then he goes literally back up another 3 whole tones, a tritone, back to the F sharp. But this time he turns it into irregular 2 chord. And then on to the 5. Then it goes around again, so we've got our 2, 5, flat 2 into the 1 in E minor, the 5 of 5 in G major, split between a 2 A minor to the 5 chord and onto the B minor 7 flat 5. The C diminished chord here, publisher probably would like you to think of it more of, he just didn't know how to say it, a D9, a D7 flat 9 over C. So then you have a passing 7th onto what would appear to be the 3 chord. The B minor in G. So let's go back to the pickup of the 5, the D7 chord going into the flat 2 chord. This is going into the major section of the song. Let's look at that. Onto the 4 chord. Here we use the regular form of the 2 chord in E minor. The diminished 5th, before we were stuck with the melody, is the C sharp. But now I can use the regular form into the 5 chord and onto the 1 chord. Now here, the composer's stuck for 2 bars on a 1 chord, really doesn't want to sit there, so he does what a lot of other composers have done. Drops through the major 7 to the 7 and onto the 6 to push it into the next bar. Sometimes it could be done in the bass. Boy, that device is used so many times. I digress. Let's get back to the song. We end up on the chord that I like, the C sharp 9 augmented 11th, which has absolutely nothing to do with G major or E minor, but it is the 5 of F sharp. So I'm going to take it to the F sharp, which the E does. So I know that the F sharp dominant chord here has absolutely nothing to do with G major. But I do know that it's the 5 of B, which is the 5 chord in E, so this must be the 5 of 5. I also know that we can split that 5 chord between its 2 onto the 5. But he doesn't do that. He plays again with the equal division of the octave. He's sitting here on the 5 of 5, then leaps down a tritone, equal division, onto the C chord, and when he returns back again to the F sharp, another equal division of the octave, he changes it to minor, which makes it the 2 chord, and onto B7, a half cadence, meaning you know there's more to come, and then it goes around again. As it moves to here, and what's here, maybe we better take a look at the music. As I mentioned, this looks like a 3 chord in the key of G, B minor 7, except they got the flat 5 there. So let's just leave that for a second. Let's take a look at the E7 chord. Well, that doesn't belong in the key of G either, or the key of E minor for that matter, but it's a dominant chord, so it must be a 5 of something. Oh, again, more tonicization. So E is the 5 of A, or A minor in this case. This is a 2 chord in G, so let's mark that as a 2 chord. So this must be a 5 of the 2 chord. Well, if that's the case, what is this? Well, B minor 7, or what it should probably be called B half diminished, is the 2 of A minor. So this is acting as a subdominant function all through tonicization. So this is the 2 of 2 going to the 5 of 2 and eventually arriving on 2 chord. Then the composer leaps up to the 4 chord but makes it minor. I'll talk about that a little more on the piano, but we'll call it just a 4 minor chord for now. And then he goes down to an F13 chord. Again, not part of key of E minor or G, but we would look at it as a flat 7 chord. These 2 chords I'll talk about in a little more detail when I'm on the piano. But then interestingly, this is where he goes crazy, and I think this is where I decided I better put out a tutorial on equal division of the octave. He does equal division of the octave, leaping a tritone up to the B, equal division of the octave, leaping back to the F9, and then another equal division of the octave, jumping into B minor. Finally, he moves on to a E7. Again, that's a 5 of A minor. Way over here, it's tonicizing that. But when he arrives on the A, which should have been the A minor, he decides to make that another 5 chord, and that becomes the 5 of D. I hope I'm not confusing you here. But then he does a fabulous trick. He leaps down another equal division of the octave down to E flat, leap of a tritone, 3 whole tones, and then when he returns back up again, he's going back again, equal division of the octave, up to A minor, not A13, so this now becomes a 2 chord, a subdominant chord, going to a 4 chord, but he makes that minor, so we'll have to call that a 4 minor. Finally to the 5 chord, and allows us to finally reach the 1 chord in G major, and that is the end of the song. So let's go back to the keyboard, looking at it from where we come into the coda down to the ending of the song. So we enter this B minor 7 flat 5, aka B half diminished, especially when it goes to here. So we got an E7, so E is the 5 of A, and A in the key of G is A minor, so this must be the 5 of the 2 chord. Then the climax comes, the highest note of the song, and we end up going to the 2 chord, the A minor, then Johnny Mandel takes it to the 4 minor chord, C minor, and takes us to another chord that's not part of the key of G, the F. So just a quick little review. The 4 minor and the flat do not belong in the key of G. They're actually taken from the parallel minor and nicely dropped into the key of G major. It's done all the time, making things a little more interesting. We're coming from 2 to 4 minor to our flat 7. And then he does an incredible, interesting thing here. He plays between the equal division of the octave and the tritones. So he goes from the flat 7 chord to the root of the 3 chord of G, then back, and then he finally moves it forward. But it's a great device. So let's put it in context. Flat 7, back to 3, 5 of 2, the A, the E7, 5 of 2, but instead of going to the 2 chord, he makes it another 5 chord, and here's where he really gets clever, another equal division of the octave, turns, he makes it now minor, which beautifully sets up a subdominant 2 chord, the A minor. And then he uses the 4 minor chord just because he can, the 5, and finally he arrives on G major. Well, I hope I haven't boggled your mind totally. If you take your time and review my tutorials on chord movements in major and in minor, freeze frame whatever you need to do to get the information. Don't walk away from it, stick with it. It will make sense a little down the road if it's not making sense at the moment. Anyway, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Have a great day. Bye for now.